Happy New Year to all my lovely viewers and welcome to yet another video from Pale Blue Thoughts. Let us start this year on a little funny note rather than the usual busting misconceptions theme. Today we will discuss two tongue-in-cheek honors that are given on the internet: Darwin Awards and Nobel Disease. Yeah, both are actually honors given to specific people but are not literal honors, so to speak. Let us see the first one, Darwin Awards. If you thought that Darwin Awards are given to people who have done breakthrough research in evolutionary studies, you could not be farther from truth. In his seminal work, The Origin of Species, Charles Darwin presented evidence that species evolve over time to fit their environment better. But do the Darwin Awards really represent examples of human evolution in action? Not really. The Darwin Awards commemorate individuals who protect our gene pool by making the ultimate sacrifice. They sacrifice their own lives, and by eliminating themselves in an extraordinarily idiotic manner, they improve our species' chances of long-time survival. In other words, they are cautionary tales about people who kill themselves in really stupid ways, and in doing so, significantly improve the gene pool by eliminating themselves from the human race. As they have died and they can no longer procreate and make more children, they can no longer produce more stupid people. Thus, as per Darwin, by the elimination of such stupid people, only the brighter people remain and their genes get passed on, and overall the intelligence of the human species improves just as envisaged by Darwin in his natural selection theory. Do you get the thought behind it? These individuals carry out disastrous plans that any average preteen knows is a really bad idea. The single-minded purpose and self-sacrifice of the winners and the spectacular means by which they kill themselves make them candidates for the honor of winning a Darwin Award. I will show you a scene from a Malayalam movie to make you understand who gets to win such awards.
ഉറങ്ങി. യെസ്, ഉറങ്ങി. ആദ്യം ആണി കഴിച്ചെടുക്കണം, എന്നിട്ട് എണ്ണണം. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 എണ്ണുന്നതിന് മുമ്പ് ഇറങ്ങിയിരിക്കണം. ഓക്കെ ഓക്കെ. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
If you still haven't got it, here are some more examples from the internet.
Run.
I hope you got the drift now. Named in the honor of Charles Darwin, the Darwin Awards represent examples of evolution in action by showing what happens to people who are unable to cope with the basic dangers of the modern world. These ironic tales of fatal misadventure illustrate some of life's most important lessons. We assume that basic common sense eliminates the need for public service announcements such as warning, the coffee is hot, and Superman cape does not enable the wearer to fly. But the true stories you will read on their website will show that common sense is not so common. The Darwin Awards are horrid tales that make us laugh while instructing us in the laws of common sense. The awards allegedly began in 1993 as a Stanford students' newsletter to friends with stories collected from newspapers. Since then, the awards have grown to become an international institution. So who are the winners of 2021? There is this US Army guy who tried to do a stunt called Supermanning, which is basically hanging out of a fast flying army cargo aircraft just held by a harness. And obviously, due to the high winds, the harness went snap and our Superman flew right into the Persian Gulf. Next up was a 72-year-old Harvey Fite who bought a lot of land and started a stone quarry to make out rocky structures similar to Stonehenge. But the chap could not complete his magnum opus as he tried to ride his own lawnmower across the quarry and fell off a precipice and landed in his stony garden and was found to be stone dead. The next award for 2021 is actually shared by two people who met with an accident on the very busy Interstate 80 in California, US. Both got out of their cars and started to argue in the middle of the freeway whose fault it was. There came a poor guy in a Mini Cooper who tried to swerve to avoid the cars in the accident and collided into the arguing men. A lesson we should all remember is that neither of the dead drivers care about that dispute anymore. Those two men paid a steep price for their situational unawareness. The prime tenet of the Darwin Awards is that they are celebrating the self-removal of incompetent genetic material from the human race. Therefore, the potential winner must be deceased or at least incapable of reproducing. If someone manages to survive an incredibly stupid feat, then their genes in effect must have something to offer in the way of luck, agility, or stamina. They are therefore not eligible for a Darwin Award, but sometimes the story is too entertaining to pass up and they earn an honorable mention. For more such stories, you can head to www.darwinawards.com and read the exploits of some people whose brains had gone stale and now they are no longer with us to tell their tales. It may sound cruel to many people, but remember, these are real people who live around us and you may spot worthy contenders around yourselves too. I seriously feel that people who fall for superstitions like astrology, Vastu, etc. are prime contenders for this award, though they may just get an honorary mention as they may not get killed. The real winners would be people who fall for alternate healing systems like homeopathy, Ayurveda, acupuncture, Reiki, etc., as they have a chance of eliminating themselves by following such unscientific treatments. Of course, I am not forgetting the Lifetime Award for those who believe that there is a sky daddy above who is watching what you see and where you pee. Religion is after all the greatest lie ever invented by man, and people who still believe in it ought to receive some award posthumously along with the eternal afterlife, sometimes with 72 houris and rivers of alcohol, or before they meet the son of the sky daddy who died for their skins, or when they become unified with the Brahman high on psychedelic drugs. They deserve the Lifetime Non-Achievement Award for not being able to recognize the fallacies of religion. Of course, there are some of their frontrunners who actually walk into crowded places laden. No, not this one. I meant these kind of suicide bombers who wear explosive-filled rucksacks and ignite themselves in the name of the greatest lie on earth, and thus end up without a space to lie on earth and just result in adding to the carbon footprint. So these are tales about people who might be outright stupid. How about people who are smarter than the rest of us but end up believing in pseudoscientific nonsense for one reason or another? And I'm not talking about just normal, smart, intelligent people. I'm talking about actual Nobel laureates. Yes, people who have won the Nobel Prize and after that they have got a disease called Nobelitis. Nobel disease, also known as Nobelitis, is a phenomenon where a Nobel Prize winning scientist endorses or performs research in pseudoscientific areas in their later years, generally after having won the esteemed prize for some legitimate scientific achievement. What makes the term special is the fact that you would think Nobel laureates of all people would be the most resistant to such beliefs. On the contrary, however, the Nobel disease underscores the fact that human beings simply aren't immune to falling for oddball ideas, accomplished scientists included. And this causes people who have the affinity for the logical fallacy called argument from authority to start churning out WhatsApp messages and tweets saying if a Nobel Prize winning scientist supports X, then it must be true. We have all seen the recent case of Luc Montagnier, who was one of the 3 people who got the Nobel Prize for Medicine in 2008 for the discovery of the HIV virus. Luc Montagnier, however, was in the limelight during the COVID-19 pandemic as he was a promoter of the conspiracy theory that SARS-CoV-2 was a man-made virus which escaped from a laboratory. Such a claim has been refuted by other virologists. He was earlier in the wrong limelight for supporting the water memory hypothesis of homeopathy. Montagnier claimed that solutions containing the DNA of pathogenic bacteria and viruses would emit low-frequency radio waves that induce surrounding water molecules to become arranged into nanostructures. He suggested water could retain such properties even after the original solutions were massively diluted to the point where the original DNA had effectively vanished and that water could retain the memory of substances with which it had been in contact. Yeah, when you lose it, you do lose it. He has since been criticized by academics for using this Nobel Prize status to spread dangerous health messages outside his field of knowledge. But Luc is not alone. There are many other Nobel laureates who have fallen for pseudoscience at some point in their lives after they have achieved their pinnacles. Marie Curie, the first woman to win a Nobel Prize and the only woman to win the Nobel Prize twice, that too for 2 different scientific fields, was a staunch supporter of a psychic medium called Eusapia Palladino. J.J. Thomson, who discovered the electron, was later found to be dawdling in psychics, dowsing and paranormal. Linus Pauling, who won 2 Nobel Prizes for chemistry and then for peace, was a staunch supporter of vitamin C for curing common cold. Pauling, who was detected with a disease called Bright's disease, himself consumed huge amounts of vitamin C on a daily basis that were more than 120 times the recommended daily intake. He further argued that mega doses of vitamin C had therapeutic value for treating schizophrenia and for prolonging cancer patients' lives. These claims are not supported by the best available science. James Watson, one of the Nobel Prize winners for proposing the double helix structure of the DNA, has consistently and publicly claimed that blacks are inherently less intelligent than whites and that exposure to sunlight in tropical regions and higher levels of melanin causes dark-skinned people to have a higher sex drive. He has said all this despite being an atheist. Yes, being a humanist is not in his DNA for sure. Even the great Albert Einstein had endorsed a psychic in 1932. There are much more such harebrained scientists in this world, and you can just wiki to find out more. Of course, there has to be some parting mentions about Isaac Newton, who of course couldn't have won the Nobel Prize, but even after achieving things which no man had ever achieved before or after he turned 25, still believed in alchemy, the pseudoscience of turning other metals into gold, and he also spent a great deal of time trying to discover hidden messages within the Bible. In a manuscript Newton wrote in 1704, he describes his attempt to extract scientific information from the Bible. He estimated from the Bible that the world would end no earlier than 2060. So according to Newton, we still have 39 years to go, at least. So far, we have talked about Western accomplishers who have gone off the rut. How about coming to India? In a land already filled with mystic pseudoscientific saints like Mata Mais, Sadgurus, Yoga Babas, and people with double salutations, scientists often get sidelined. But then there are people like B.M. Hegde who have nosedived below the science that they have learned and freely swims in the pseudoscience like alternate medicine. So why do these people go off their rockers and endorse pseudoscience? One explanation for this is the regression to the mean. Nobel Prizes are typically given out to people because they have reached the high point of their career. Where does someone go once they reach the high point? Downhill, of course. Furthermore, if someone is universally hailed as a genius, It may bolster their own confirmation bias at the expense of skepticism. It discourages others from likewise questioning them and encourages them to comment on topics that they don't really know anything about. It is not clear whether age is a factor, but most of these people have come out with such weird statements and beliefs late in their lives, whereas in their prime they have made some amazing discoveries and inventions. But here is where the beauty of science shines through. Science relies on the scientific method and institutions to discover what is true or false, rather than the authority of any individual. This is how scientific journals avoid publishing stupidities, even if it is coming from a Nobel laureate. So today's episode was all about showing two extremes. At one end of the scale, we have people who kill themselves off due to their stupidity and thus enhance the intelligence of Homo sapiens in the long run. While on the other hand, we have geniuses who forget their achievements and endorse pseudoscientific claims, mainly in areas where they have no expertise, and take us back a few hundred years in terms of knowledge. Unfortunately, people fall for these, like how we have seen in the case of Luc Montagnier and B.M. Hegde. The line of reasoning and logic is very thin, like a freshly frozen lake. If you do not have a strong support of a strong ski pole like science, you are most likely to fall flat on the thin ice and drown. So my New Year wish to all my viewers, old and new, is to embrace scientific temper and to unclog and open your mind and banish those pseudoscientific demons. Wish you all a very happy and safe 2022. Until next time, it's bye-bye from Pale Blue Thoughts.